Welcome, y'all. Welcome to Sam and Cathy. This here, I'm Sam Roberts. You're Cathy Kelley.
Yeah, people couldn't tell because of your voice.
That's right. That's right.
More sultry this week.
It is. I'm trying a little something different, and I'm trying to get a little more kind of sensual. Mm-hmm. And I just want to slow it down a minute. I know we have a lot of females that listen to Sam and Cathy, so I want to give them a little something to listen to. You know what I mean? You know? Do you think that this, honestly, without putting any bias into context, do you prefer my voice like this? Because you've even heard it much worse. When I was out in L.A.,
yeah, when
it was
you barely had a voice.
There was like nothing left.
Coughing every 2 seconds.
Was that annoying?
I don't know. I don't think I was annoyed by it.
You probably weren't annoyed by it because, I mean, let's be honest, it's me.
Yeah. Sure.
Whatever. But
I was more concerned. I think that's what it was because
that.
I know there was so much content that we had to do that weekend.
But didn't stop anything, did it?
No.
No.
Nope.
No. Do you think? Is this better? I don't really get them anymore. But like my voice has been the target of
a point of contention.
A point of contention for some time. That's why. I was listening to Kevin Undergaro's Tomorrow Show, and he was saying that that there's two kinds of philosophies. Like Kevin's philosophy in terms of success is he believes in showing up, doing an awesome job, and just hanging in there. Like where is this going? I don't know, but I'm just going to do an awesome job and hang in there. Whereas the other way to do things is just to go get a job. Like, I'm there to own this job. This is going to be my job. Whereas the other way to do it, I don't know, stuff is falling. Oh. We're back in the studio.
Yeah.
Last week we were in my house, but we're back in the studio, so there's just all kinds of equipment everywhere. But he said the other way to do things...
On the floor now.
I know. Well, it's not my equipment. It's not my house. The other way to do things is to go in and, like, own a job. Like, if it's an audition. Kevin was saying you go in and you just try to have an awesome audition. Whereas this other philosophy...
Well, yeah, that sounds easy.
Whereas this other...
Not.
Whoa!
I can tell
you.
You.
Sarcasm. Not. Whereas the other philosophy... No, but it's like, go in, I'm just going to go in and be awesome.
Yeah.
Versus, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take this job. Like, it's two different goals, right?
Yeah.
It's like going to win and going to play amazingly. And to me... I always think the only philosophy to have is the play amazingly, because there's so many little obstacles and uncontrollables that can stop you from like an individual goal. Like if it's just one job we're talking about, then there's lots of stuff out of your control.
I don't think that there's much longevity in that. Of like, yeah,
and going in and owning a job.
You can go in and you can own a job, but like if that job, like you're saying, there's so many things that you can't control. Like what if, you know, that show gets canceled or like that doesn't work out or an investor falls out or whatever it is.
Then they would say go in and own the next thing. Like just keep doing that everywhere you go. So then you're just doing
job to job to job.
It seems like that. Also, I mean, and this isn't even just like an audition thing. This is like, I know, like if there's a job opening, you can go in, crush the interview, own the job, go in there and take the job. Mm-hmm. But it's already spoken for before you've even got there for the interview. Like there's a lot. That's the way things are done now.
There's so many jobs that are like posted online that have already been filled, but HR has to post them because of legal issues.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
and it doesn't really help anybody. But that's why I don't believe in going out and just winning per se. I think the win has always got to be like long term. You have to go in and crush the interview because you don't know where it's going to go. Mm-hmm. You have to go in and crush the interview because you might get hired today for this job, or they might put your resume on file. You might get a call in a year. Like you just go in and crush. I mean, that's why I was talking about my voice. I mean, I remember, and this story will be with me always, when SiriusXM got an Entertainment Weekly channel. And I was like, yeah, I could do this. And this was a time where it was like I was really kind of trying to figure out how do I get on the air.
Yeah.
I need like somebody to believe in me to host a show every day. That's the only way to do what I want to do, is to be on the air every day. And they were like, well, this Entertainment Weekly channel is coming and we need we need an afternoon show.
Yeah.
And I went in and I did like a practice show. And they were like, okay, that was good. And they were like, good. And I had a buddy that was organizing it. And he was kind of keeping me in on the loop. He was like, Sam, they love you. They're going to call you back for the second one. And so they call me back in for the second one. And they go, okay, for the second one, this is the format. You're going to have to find 2 topics or 3 topics on Entertainment Weekly's website, talk about that with a co-host, then an expert, one of the writers, is going to come in. And he's going to talk to you about a TV show.
Yeah.
Your TV show is The Walking Dead. And I go, okay. They were like, we picked that for you. We figured you watched The Walking Dead. And I was like, yeah. I hadn't watched The Walking Dead in a season and a half.
Yeah.
So I went home that weekend and watched literally, 18 hours of The Walking Dead, one after the other. I was an expert by the time I came in. And I came in, nailed my topics. I did like a half-hour test show. I knew it was perfect. Like, I knew that you're not going to beat it. And I do it. Everything's good. Expert likes me. I'm getting texts from this guy. Dude, like, the person managing the channel loves you. They're going to pitch you to the top of Sirius. Excellent. I get another text the next day. Dude, this is happening. The top of Sirius loves you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's actually going to happen. Like, I was getting, like, emotional.
You don't want to get your hopes up, but
my hopes were there. I was like, I'm there. I was like,
Yeah.
he wouldn't be telling me this if it wasn't true.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he sends me, he's like, dude, I don't know how to tell you this. I was like, what? He goes, the guy that runs the magazine. And by the way, it's not even the same guy running the magazine anymore. The guy that runs the magazine doesn't like the sound of your voice. Like, there's nothing to do about it.
It's all about timing with that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And that's what you find out later. But it's
Yeah.
like, and I know now that if I had gotten that job, it would have been a bad move.
Mm-hmm. How do you not let that stick with you? Like, that is your goal, to be on radio. And if someone high up says, I think your voice is annoying.
Right. Well, then I go like, first of all, there's a big chance that one of the reasons you're high up is because you couldn't pull off what I'm doing. Because I'll bet when you were in your 20s, you wanted to be the guy.
You think so?
A lot of them, especially in like an industry like this. I don't know. I think
there are a lot of people who just want to be in power. Like, they want to be an executive. They don't necessarily want to.
That's true, but
be talent.
Yeah, but there's a lot of when you can really be talent. There's a lot of power that comes with it. When you can establish,
there's a lot of influence that comes with it. Not necessarily power, because you can be talent, but you might not be in control of anything.
But when you can draw your own audience,
oh yeah,
then you're power.
But you're an influencer.
But if you are the one with the audience and the company knows, it's your audience, now you have, and a lot of people don't factor that in, but that is a place. If you allow a talent to create and maintain their own audience, then they become, you're right, and influencer is the perfect word, but it also is a power, because you go, like, I know that I can take this audience with me, or I know that, like, you need this audience, so that's why I'm here.
I think you're in that position. I don't think that a lot of people who are radio hosts or actors or musicians or whatever have that kind of influence or power. Like, there are a lot of people who are just given lines and that's all they can do with it.
Well, it's like I decided early on when I was doing this, because I saw the way it worked.
Yeah.
And, like, I would see people get in good with the boss and do this and shortcuts. And what was really helpful was being in it for like 6 or 7 years, probably right around the 6th year. Because right around the 6th year is when you start to see people that 3 years ago leapfrogged you. And you were like, oh no, like, that's what I need to be doing. And I didn't do that. And I didn't cozy up. By the time you're in it for 6 years and you're just plugging and plugging and plugging, that's when you see those guys that leapfrogged you fall. Mm-hmm. And you go, and they don't have any place to go.
They got it too fast.
They got it too fast, and they took a shortcut, so they don't know the way. Like, they can't retrace their steps because the shortcut's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So they're back to the beginning. So for me, I was like, okay, I know. I also, like, took pride in, I need to be an expert in my business. That means that, like, my bosses are responsible for hiring me. I can value their opinion, but, like, they are not prophets at this thing. Mm-hmm. And I have
You need to show them what's good.
Right. I have an expertise.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. They have an expertise too. And I need to respect my expertise as much as I respect their expertise.
Yeah.
And I know that the sound of somebody's voice is not what makes for a good show. As a matter of fact, if you have an atypical sounding voice, as long as it's not like Ryan Seacrest, he needs a clean voice because Ryan Seacrest had decided to create a business for himself where it was not about him. It was about he is this sort of center that brings in as much of an audience as he can, meaning he's not trying to get a specific audience. He's trying to cast his net as wide as possible, not hit any niches at all. Like cast a very wide net, bring in every celebrity, and do that as a business. And great business, and it's very, very possible. But that's more of a businessman mentality. And for him, vocal quality would count.
Yeah.
I never wanted to do that. And
do you think that Entertainment Weekly, like their brand, was trying to recreate something like a Ryan Seacrest?
I knew they were wrong when they did that because Ryan Seacrest doesn't sit there and talk about something for 3 hours. It's a talk show, and you need to engage with your audience. And in order to engage with your audience, you have to become relatable.
Well, there are certain shows that, like, they don't care who the host is. They just want to get it done.
Right.
Like, I would argue that most of the, top 50 radio stations or whatever it is, like, most of the stations that play music and arguably, the stations that just want to talk about pop culture, they just want someone to fill that role, to fill that time, because most people that are listening aren't going to be loyal listeners. They're going to listen for that
music.
Day or that music or whatever, or be flipping through the channels, and that's just what they want. As opposed to a platform like what you've built, which is people that want to hear your opinion.
And that's why, by the way, at the behest of advice that came to me from older people, I never went the terrestrial radio route. People told me you need to go to a small market in terrestrial and build up that way.
Yeah.
It's not the way the business works anymore.
That's what I was told for hosting. And
Wrong.
After a year, I got out of it. That's
smart.
After a year, I was like, no, I have to move to LA. Left a great job that I loved in Des Moines, Iowa, and
but it's
moved to LA without a job. Yeah.
It is fun to work in a small market.
Yes and no.
Why no? Because it's fun. I'll tell you why yes. Because I worked in Syracuse in radio.
Yeah.
And it's like low pressure. It's you get a little bit of local celebrity. You know what I mean? Like and it's kind of exactly the net you're casting. So it's you can develop into this big fish in a small pond, which it's easy and nice. That's why people choose to stay there. It's not the most ambitious thing in the world.
No.
Which would probably be where you were going to go with the negative?
I mean, I think, I knew that I didn't want to stay in Des Moines. Like, I knew ultimately I either wanted to be in New York or LA.
Right.
And I wanted to do more entertainment, and that just wasn't, Des Moines, Iowa wasn't where that was going to happen.
And they're not like, I think hosting on TV probably works similar to radio in the sense that, like, people aren't climbing up through markets in radio anymore. It's like one guy who's in New York is also going to a closet and ISDNing so he can be the guy in Detroit and the guy in Wisconsin. And like it's or the program director is also the afternoon guy. And there's not an investment being made in DJs because, like you said, the companies have decided to focus on the fact that they're not listening for the DJs. So as long as they're doing a fine enough job, just go and do it.
Well, I think the super ambitious people who are going to or who have risen to the top via those routes in the past are now starting their own thing. Like they're going on YouTube or they're starting their own podcast and they're creating their own audience that way. So the people that start out in the small markets usually stay there.
Right. And some people are more comfortable, and I don't begrudge that.
No.
But it's a different mentality.
It was definitely a great experience. And I would say you would probably think that as well.
Yeah, it was a good experience, a good place to learn. It was fun. Like, it's better to learn there, and you probably know this. It's better to learn there. Like, I learned a lot of my radio.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about this before. In front of the Opie and Anthony audience, which is a huge audience. It's a lot more difficult to do that than to learn it in a small market. Yeah. But it's also like
thrust right in.
Swimming with sharks, and it'll make you better.
I was really lucky because going out to LA, I already had a reel of actual footage,
Right.
as opposed to a lot of the hosts that are starting out there that go straight to LA don't have anything real. So they have to have either they pay a lot of money to fake it with a camera crew, or they have to try to submit themselves without any footage, and no one will hire them
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where that small market stuff is valuable because you get experience cracking a mic, being in front of a camera.
It looked like I was way better than I was.
Exactly. And that's what you need.
Yeah.
Because by the time you're as good as you should be, you should have had the job for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, so when I heard that the guy had said, well, his voice is just not good, like at no point did I think to myself, well, that's my career. Immediately, I was like,
I want to prove him wrong.
not even I want to prove him wrong. I'm frustrated
Oh.
because he's wrong. Like I already knew he was wrong. There was no, I did use it as motivation to be like, fuck off. Like I know what I'm doing. But I was like, and so I was crushed, of course. But I also had to like start wrapping my head around the fact that if I was going to work for a guy who had that mentality that your voice needs to sound a certain way on the radio, which is probably why he worked in magazines, then I would probably not be happy over that station. And when they started hiring writers to host shows as if anybody can host a radio show, which is not the case, I was like, okay, you know what? I probably wouldn't be happy there. And then I went on Opie and Anthony, and I just told him the whole story. Because like I had told him that I was auditioning for this thing, because if I disappeared. And I was like, yeah, well, guess what happened? One of the guys at the magazine said he didn't like the sound of my voice. And I said this on the air in front of all these people to the point where like executives, like middle management were stopping me and go, did they really tell you that somebody said that? I'm like, uh-huh. And he goes, that doesn't even make any sense. He goes, first of all, why would they tell you that? And I go, look, I get information, I know.
I honestly, in that situation, I think I would rather them tell me the reason why they didn't hire me as opposed to just being, oh, it didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Because then I would mull over it for a really freaking long time.
And for that, like for me to know the answer, it's like, okay, now I've got an even bigger chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Which I need, which anybody needs to succeed. And you go forward. And like I ended up in a much better situation where I could build my own thing as opposed to being attached to a brand that probably wouldn't have ever wanted me to achieve even the levels that I've achieved now, let alone the levels that I'm reaching for.
Yeah.
They want you under that thing. So, it was tough at the time, but at the same time, I didn't take the criticism seriously.
That's good, because I would get really down on myself.
Would you?
I mean, like, I've been in similar situations where I've lost out on a job for stupid reasons. But yeah, I don't know, maybe because I'm so critical of myself when someone else calls me out. Like, I've been getting on Twitter recently. There are a couple of people who've been like, oh, you have a really annoying voice. I hate when you're on Snapchat or whatever. I've thought I've had an annoying voice since I was in high school and first heard my voice on a messaging machine.
But it's like, then I feel like, and I hope that you can get to this place, and I think that'll be the best place about you being in WWE is that, and on my show, is that both of the audiences are pretty big. WWE's is much bigger, obviously, and both have a tendency to be critical. And I have a tendency to be critical.
Well, now, I mean, like, there are definitely times when, because at AfterBuzz, when I was there, I always loved looking at feedback, whether it was on YouTube, on Twitter, or whatever, so that I could improve.
Right.
And now I feel like there are some things that I get that I can improve on, but for the most part, it's
wrong.
Negative stuff. It's not like, oh, that's constructive criticism. I posted this on Twitter the other day, like, Cathy has really annoying eyebrows. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Right. Like, what am I going to do with that? Like, but you really need to be at the place where, at least for the majority of it, the positives and the negatives are kind of just in a category. Like, most of your pride should just come from your own knowledge of your work.
No, I'm getting to the point very quickly, I think, of if they're talking about me, that's good. Well, I could care less whether it's good or bad. Like, obviously, I'd rather it be good, but I'd rather that than someone be like, who's this?
Right. Because I think like that's where you need to be. You've decided that this is what you're going to do. Because if you think you have an annoying voice, not you, but you, collective you, if you think you have an annoying voice and you don't want people pointing that out, then don't broadcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you think you're not good at math and you don't want people yelling at you for it, finance is not for you. If you're not good at whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that when you have to.
I just know
you can't just live in that sort of self-doubt.
in
Either
this
do it or
industry,
don't.
when you open yourself up, like you're gonna get people who are gonna be critical.
Well, yeah.
And there's no stopping that. So like if you can have 25% of people like you, you're fine.
Right. And I mean, and you have to bulldoze through all of it anyway. Like at the end of the day, the people who succeed are the ones that kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah.
At the end, yeah.
I've always said, I know that I'm never going to be the prettiest person or the smartest person or the funniest person. But I'll work hard. Like, I think that's what it is. I'll work my ass off.
I guess so, but it's also like you're also while you're never going to be the smartest person or the prettiest person or the funniest person, you're the hot chick who's in Mensa that likes to do puns. So like you're still, you know what I mean? And that's one of those things.
But it doesn't, like there are a lot of people who are like, oh, she's trying too hard to be funny, or she, you know, like.
Well, those are people who don't realize that you're funny. And so the minute they see you being funny, think that you're trying to be funny when in reality you're just being Cathy. And like, that's why it's almost like, because you are smarter and funnier and prettier than most people. And that's one of the,
thanks.
That's one. But I think you know that. Like, if you really, like, you know that. You know what the average person is. And you know that that's true, which is why.
I mean, my mom tells me all the time.
Which is why it's like, and that's kind of like, okay, there are things that you're not good at, which is going to be true for
like
anybody.
Not listening to people online.
Right.
I'm really not good
Right,
at
yeah,
that.
like that's where like
Yeah.
like those three things that I just said are true, but like, yeah, you need some work on your self-esteem.
I just, like, I want to be the best at everything, so that's why I'm critical of everything.
Yes, and you're
like,
not going to be the
I want
best
to be,
But here's what happens. If you want to be the best at everything,
yeah,
you're never going to be the best at anything.
I know.
Because you're going to be so worried about doubting. Like, that's why when people are like, that's why I don't eat healthy. That's why I don't really exercise much. Because it's like, that's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the guy who's really good and knowledgeable about that stuff. I'm going to not even think about that. I don't have any room for it, you know, and more power to the people that do. But I am not going to spend any time. And I think about it sometimes. Like, I'm like, ugh, I look awful.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a skinny, fat mess who should be doing more of this. But I'm like, you know what? I'm doing fine. Like, I'm instead going to focus on the things that I need to focus on right now. And when maybe at some point the stuff I'm doing for work will have more of an infrastructure and I won't be responsible for everything, if I find myself with time in the day that's free,
You're only going to get busier,
I
which is
know.
what I know, too.
I know. So it's like that I've decided that's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be
You have
athletic.
to focus on the things that are going to move you towards your goal.
Right. And when I go on Fox News, I'm not going to be the guy who's got an intellectual
Yeah.
point. I'm going to be the guy who's got kind of a funny but, oh, that's true point. And I don't care. And I'll like give total props and respect the guy who's good at this over here.
Yeah.
As long as you return the favor. Like if anybody thinks like, oh, you know, fuck this guy, he doesn't know about like exercise or whatever. I'll be like, yeah, but you don't know how to do what I do.
I think that for me, it started, or I noticed it when I moved out to LA, that I was really striving for perfection as opposed to striving to be good at something. And my hosting coach pointed it out that a lot of people who, like Shaquille O'Neal, I guess it was one of the people she mentioned had this of like when your father leaves when you're very young, which is what I had, you have this like innate thing where you want to prove that you are worth it.
Right.
And so I was striving for perfection in everything that I did so that I could prove like, oh, I was worth it. Like you were wrong to leave.
Right. Which, by the way, like if you just excel at what you do, that will still, like, you know what I mean? You don't.
I know, but it was like something that like now, like when I figured that out, then I was like, oh, like it was a huge roadblock for me. And then I was able to like be more of like the dorky, whatever person that I was, as opposed to being like super robotic and
we
like
say quirky.
That
we say quirky's more charming. Dorky isn't. That's it. Adrian just came in, our producer.
What's up?
This is a good one. This is a good one for you because we're talking about because you're like, so where are you at? You're a young guy,
24,
right? And sometimes I wonder about you because I don't think, and I guess I'm the same way, but I think it came a little more natural to me. Like I was never, when I'm growing up, I had a lot of friends, but I really got the most done by myself. Like I really didn't get what a lot of my friends were doing, and I was kind of on my own most of the time.
I get that.
But that's where like my sort of work, I can create things mentality. That was just me by myself figuring out that I can create things. And I think a lot of that was a defense mechanism for the fact that I couldn't talk to girls. The more I think about it, the more I realize that I had to prove to myself that it was more valuable for me. And it goes back to the same thing I was just talking about I don't work out because I don't want to learn how to work out because I'm perfecting this other
Because you're good at something else.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's also an excuse for me to not deal with the fact that I'm not good at something. But it's okay to not be good at everything.
It's an excuse, but you're already on your way to being the best at something. You know what I mean? Why put something in there that, while it's a good thing, could impede the progress you're already making? Right.
Like, why spend time doing that if I can build on this? And obviously this is working.
Yeah.
But that's why I think when I was younger, I would try to figure out, like, how to build websites, how to start businesses, how to sell wrestling stuff, how to do whatever. At one point, I was sewing wrestling dolls. Like I would make them out of fabric
Make
and
your
sew
own wrestling
them.
buddies?
Yeah, but they were like little, and I would draw them with fabric markers. I was always just making something, doing something, whatever it was. And I think that was because I needed to have some kind of thing that showed you, like, see, like all you guys are starting to talk to girls or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I can't do that, but it's okay because the time I spend by myself is more valuable.
I used to make little marzipan teddy bears. Like you could make like marzipan chocolate or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you could make and dye it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the time you spend, because that way you have something to show. Like, look what I did though. You guys can't do this.
I mean, I don't think that's anything to brag about, but
I mean, and neither is staying at home and making like wrestling dolls.
Yeah.
But at least in your own head as a kid, it's a thing that you did, and you can like that and feel proud of it. You know, and then go back to school on Monday and remember that you're a loser. But Adrian wasn't a loser.
I was.
No, you weren't.
There were times when I was. I was.
When were you a loser?
A lot of the time.
Like when you
I
lost
was
a big
ostracized. I mean, just like where I grew up, just because you played sports didn't necessarily mean
you were getting
cool.
laid.
Yeah, I was getting laid.
That's it then. There's no losers who got laid.
I know plenty of losers who get laid.
No. That's like
just
no. I mean,
girls.
No. Hooking up with girls, you don't know what it's like to not like. That's a whole different thing.
You know, the reason I put so much effort into getting girls was because in middle school, in 7th grade,
right?
Everyone goes through the period where they're the kid who gets ditched.
Yeah.
And it was my turn to be the one who got ditched.
yeah, mine was like a decade of my life, not a year.
Except everybody else.
But Adrian saw that, right? He goes, "I'm getting ditched now. I need to solve this problem."
Well, no. Here's what it
cool.
was. Everybody else who got ditched would respond to it by just trying harder to be cool and be accepted and just taking the hits. When I got ditched, I said "fuck you" to everybody, and I just said because that's just kind of how
F society.
Yeah, that's how my dad kind of was something he pushed on me from a young age. Was if somebody fucks with you, fuck them.
Right.
So when I was in 7th grade,
have sex with them right there, penetrate them.
When that happened to me,
nothing they could do. Jailhouse rules, Adrian.
when that happened to me, I kind of flipped out and was just like, okay, let's fight. To all the other kids.
See, that's not what
I know, but let me finish.
A loser doesn't have the confidence to fight someone.
I mean, it wasn't. I didn't have confidence that I was going to win.
It doesn't matter.
But, and it went from instead of them actively picking on me, everybody just stayed away from me. And I was a loser. I had nobody the one summer. I remember being in my basement playing Xbox the whole time. No girls talked to me, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 8th grade, I hooked up with 2 girls at the same time, and all of a sudden it was, oh, he's cool again.
Of course, that's the coolest thing ever in 8th grade.
So then that implanted in my head, okay, this is cool.
Yeah,
and then of course
it's always been that way.
I know.
You see that movie Porky's?
But I mean, then people started being cool to me again.
Right.
So I was like, all right.
Maybe it was that newfound confidence that you had.
That too. And
Yeah.
that happens. But I mean, a different mentality is implanted in your brain when you're not cool, forever.
I mean,
as opposed
You start
to
second guessing things.
and
I second guessed everything.
Yeah,
when I was young.
But it's different. I actually think on some level everybody second guesses. And it's
Yeah.
But when you're cool, you have to maintain that, and when you're not, you're just wondering why does nobody like you.
There are some people that don't second guess.
Well, those are just
there
morons.
are blindly confident people.
Right.
I have
There are
friends like
idiots
that.
too.
They're idiots.
I don't think Adrian's that guy.
No,
But
I
I
think
don't-
blindly confident people are the ones that go in and they rock that audition that first time.
I'll be blindly confident to an
Yes.
extent.
Kill it.
Yes, because they don't understand how bad it could be.
Yeah.
If they lose,
Yeah.
which ironically makes them win. Short term.
Some people can pull that off too. Some people have blind confidence and it's
Forever.
just bad. It is so bad.
Yeah, exactly. They go in and they just get destroyed every audition.
They're like, what? That was incredible.
Well, another casting director that just doesn't get it.
Haters.
Yeah, people who describe everyone as haters, it's at some point, open your eyes, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I do think that, I think as you've entered into this, our world, I don't think the idea is that we have, because you're better at other things, right?
Mhm.
Athletics,
Mhm.
getting girls,
Mhm.
Doing cool stuff
Yeah.
when you're
I mean,
younger.
Dieting.
But even when I was younger,
Dieting.
yeah.
You are so good at dieting.
One of the
Thank you.
best. But I think that in turn comes over here, and it's the fight for survival is different. I think people like Cathy and me get along so well
Mhm.
because when we're younger, because Cathy doesn't look like this when she's younger. And by the way, we've seen the photos. You've seen them, right?
Yeah.
Of young Cathy.
Oh no, of young. No, I haven't.
She was
seen them.
not hot in school.
Can I see?
I mean, yeah. I don't.
She had
have them,
glasses. She had dumb teeth. She's not hot when she's growing
my
up.
idea of fun was going to platform 9 3/4,
What's that?
and
Oh,
from Harry Potter
where was that?
in England. That's what I
That,
wanted
but
to
I was
do.
a Harry Potter fan too. See, here's the thing.
Yeah, but
I
I,
was one of
like-
the athletes, but a lot of people didn't. I was weird because
Yeah, but you
I
weren't.
read all the time.
I know, but it's not. That's not. It's very different.
I mean, but you didn't get picked on either because you learned how to talk shit.
Yeah, but I also didn't get any girls.
This is when I thought
And
I
like
looked
they,
awesome.
I would have given you a shot.
lucky her.
Yeah.
You see, and it's just a different skill set has to build. You know what I mean?
Oof.
Not that one.
And that's after I got contacts. I had glasses for a really long time. I had braces twice.
Yeah, I had braces and I didn't wear my retainer. Did not do me a lot of good. But how do you go in? Well, first of all, where do you see yourself? Right? Where do you see yourself going? Do you just and there's no, I'm not do you just want to grow with this? Is this going to be an offshoot for you? Or are you going day by day?
I want to grow with this because I've seen how you've built something. The greatest thing that you've taught me is just the consistency.
Right.
I think you do the same shit every week.
Yeah.
And you understand it's just building and building and building and patience. I'm a super impatient person. Still
Right.
I am.
Right.
But
But you
I-
get very mad when I reprimand you.
I get mad. It depends. There are times when you reprimand me and I say you're right, but there are other times where I get pissed, and that's usually when I'm in a bad mood because of something else.
Yeah.
Right.
But
So I
then
take
you
it-
probably realize, like, in those times, later down the line, that he was right.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned more from Sam than anybody I ran across while I was here.
Right. But like, is it a mentality? Like that sort of like, just keep pushing this thing. Like, have you been able, because that's what I always try to do, and that's why I do it on the air and I do it off the air, is relate what we're doing to athletics. And I don't think you were doing that before, because I just don't think that you had a coach
Well, yeah, I mean,
that would think of it that
before
way.
I came out and was working on this show, there was
You
that's
were
not-
just going by
there
the
was no, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
because it's a bigger operation and you were going through the motions.
Like, you gotta understand how I came into this.
Right.
I had no experience with editing or any of this stuff. Nothing radio related. I was selling tickets in Times Square, and I was just like, I needed a shot.
Right.
I was miserable.
Right.
I had gone through all kinds of shit over the past couple of years, and I just kind of stepped in and was like, all right, I'll figure it out as I go along.
Right.
I also had a little bit of that blind confidence where I was like, I'll come in, they'll fucking love me.
Right.
And like
Yeah.
4 days in, I was like, that is not what's going to happen here.
I think anyone thinks before they try stuff in the industry, like people who aspire to do that.
I
they're
think
like,
it's trying
I will
anything.
be the
that's what-
one.
I think that's the toughest thing for Adrian, is that I see in your eyes a lot of times you're confident that you'll succeed.
No, here's the
And so when you don't,
I'm mad at myself.
yeah,
I
it's
get
just,
furious.
right, as opposed to like, fuck, like like every time, even when I was coming up, like every time I would hand something in, it would just be like, oh, this is gonna be bad. And then a lot of times it'd be good, and I'd be like, oh, great.
Well, no, you're saying when I hand you stuff, I look confident, like he's going to like this.
Well, I mean, in a bigger sense, I think.
Well, the confidence thing is, I think, that's just a projection just to kind of convince myself to get that thing done.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's like working out again.
Right.
Like, you got to convince yourself you're a fucking animal.
Right.
If you're really going to push yourself. So, and what's held me back, I think, a lot over the course of my career has been fear
Right.
of trying things. I mean, you know, I always talk with Troy, and it's always good to have Troy bounce things off him, bounce off you, because I've become more and more comfortable with just saying fuck it and giving you something and realizing that if it's really garbage, then you're going to sit down with me and explain to me why it was garbage. If it's bad, then
Right.
you'll turn into something funny. If it's good, that's good.
Right.
So, like what I did a couple days ago at the Nicole thing.
Right.
You're
Right.
talking about audio,
Yeah.
Packages.
Like anything in general, though.
just for people that don't know. 'Cause-
Yeah,
No,
and that
that's great.
fear of trying anything was really paralyzing for a while.
Yeah, I get
and
that.
trying to push it, you know what I mean?
I get that. And it's also, I mean, I think like you have to remember sometimes like Cathy and I can think about this big picture, and it's like this second nature thing where I have to remember that I have to explain to you exactly what this picture is in my brain.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I don't understand. We're doing a radio show. And I'm like, no, Adrian, it's something. And you know what I mean?
Out, not up.
Right. And you're like, oh, like, whereas I'm going, this is second nature.
See, and that's when a lot of times when I'm trying to think of something, I will drive myself fucking crazy thinking about that because there's so much minutia that goes into everything. You know what I mean? I always think, oh fuck, I could do this, but then that might piss them off in this way, but it'll be funny here, and then I start to overthink. Like I've spent entire Sundays before.
What does Kevin Undergaro say? Less.
Less think, more do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Less think, more do. Just do. Just do. Just shit all over me. Yeah. I'll appreciate it. My question is to you, because I was talking to Cathy about it when we were talking about philosophies, two philosophies. Do you go in to something, job interview, audition, every day of your life, whatever it is, if there's a job interview, do you go in thinking, I'm going to go in and do a great interview? Or do you go in thinking, I'm going to get this job? 100%. And it's kind of complicated.
I think it's different from situation to situation. Like there are some situations.
What's your overarching just philosophy on things? Like what is it? What like your overarching mentality?
Throw yourself in full speed, and if you die, you die.
And so, well,
Whoa.
no, that's good.
Yeah.
And that sounds more like, and just hang on and see where it goes.
And yeah, and figure
So that
out.
sounds more
and-
like go in and do a killer interview, not grab the job. That sounds like go in, do your best, and hang on, and you don't know where it's going.
No, well, it's different if you put it that way. Then, like when I first interviewed for an internship here, my mental, I'm getting this fucking internship. I'm getting this, and then once I got in, it was just fucking dive in as much as you can. Figure out if you die, you die. And there were times where I didn't follow that because, like I said, I was so scared. And there's been times since I've been working on this show where I've had shitty weeks where something was garbage or I felt like you were pissed at me or something like that, and it's stunted something that I was trying to do.
I think that
because I start to overthink.
Yeah, my mentality on that has changed because I think at the beginning of my career, like right out of college, I thought, okay, you go into an audition, you book it, or you suck. Like, that's what I thought. So, like, if I didn't get a job, that was the end of it. Or if,
which you realize now is wrong.
Oh, I know that that's completely wrong now. Of like, you just have to. There are people that do get that job, but then they're not grateful for it, and they fall very quickly, and they don't know how to actually put in the hard work.
And they haven't built from the experience.
Yeah, and they feel like they deserve certain things but they hadn't really put in those hours to deserve it or work for it.
Right.
Not that they're not deserving of it, but now I realize like if you slowly build something, like the people, they always say it takes 12 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
And there are people, like, I always hear these references of, like, Morgan Freeman or what's the guy's name from Mad Men?
John Hamm.
Like, all these people who put in, like, 20 years.
Yeah, but it's not fair. It's not fair for John Hamm because in that 20 years, he had a big piece. Like he's well hung.
He's got a huge dick.
And that makes it life easier for him.
Yeah, it
you
does.
know what I mean? Like that's awesome. So even when he wasn't getting gigs, he could like wake up in the morning, look down and be like, things are not so bad. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying it's huge. It's definitely the biggest in the room.
Right. Look at John Hamm. You know what I mean? Like things are not going too poorly. I don't even need references because I'm still sitting here waiting for me to become an overnight success. Like I can't wait till I'm an overnight success.
I mean, but you have that workman-like mentality, and you have, and this is something that I've always tried to figure out, and probably what I want, the quality I want most, is the ability to phase out other shit and zone in on what needs to get done in the moment, and that's always been hard for me, and really the only time I ever was able to do that was in athletics, and particularly
it's the same mentality.
With wrestling.
It's wrestling, it is.
But the thing with that
here's what you have to do.
It was more mechanical.
Right. Here's the tricky part. Figuring out what it is that you're focusing on.
Well, even having doubts, I think you and I are on the same page of like, even having doubts, we've always known what we've wanted and where we're going to be eventually.
Right.
Even if like a certain job or something, like there's a certain hurdle that gets in the way.
Right. And it's like, yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get there. Here's my question for you, Cathy. We were talking about criticisms.
Mm-hmm.
Is there really I mean, I don't know, it sounds like a dumb question, but is there really a difference? Is there an unfair treatment of women on TV as opposed to men, or is it just something that women are more sensitive about?
I don't even think it's on TV. I think it's in society in general. There's an unfair treatment.
Because I have to tell you, I did Red Eye.
Mm-hmm.
I was judging myself, and I was judged by the audience on my physical appearance far more than the things that I said.
Yeah. I mean,
and it made me feel like maybe, and here's what I think. I think that sort of judging women on their appearance has been a point of contention for a long time. I think it was much worse years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like what's happened is, and I don't think women should be happy with this because it seems unfair to me. I think what's happened is, in order to equalize it more, women are not criticized less for their bodies. Men are criticized more. So they're trying to push up the criticism and the body images that men are supposed to have in order to make it equal. And it's like, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to bring the other one down, not bring the men up.
I mean, I know from personal experience, I've gotten so much criticism from either people online or from people that I work with saying that I've only gotten jobs in my life because of how I look.
Me too.
how do you think I feel?
Well, Adrian, I can tell you, it's true in your case. That's why I hired you.
Because I'm a pretty young boy.
Yeah, because you're handsome.
Yeah, I know.
But so, like, pretty much every job that you've had.
Every job that I've gotten, like, there are people that said, I only get a job because I'm a woman, because I get it because of how I look. I get it because I've slept with someone to get there, which I've never, ever, ever done in my life. And I think that a lot of those people are just mad because they didn't get it.
Right.
But I personally know that I put in hard work.
Right.
They didn't get the job, or they didn't get the sex?
There was no sex, Adrian. There was no sex.
Yeah.
But no, they wouldn't have had sex with the person.
Sorry, this is just something that, like, I'm really, really pissed off about, actually.
No, I like that.
Good.
I like that you're pissed off about it because I see it happening too. Because obviously I hang out with a lot of women in the industry, and it ends up, kind of all of them. Like, that's kind of the expectation, and that's the assumption.
I mean, there are a lot of guys that I've worked with in the past who I get along with really, really well. But when I was in a place of leadership, like, I wasn't taken seriously unless I was being the bitchiest version of myself.
That's like what all these people, like Nicki Minaj and people who have, like, severe criticism for their behavior, they're going, you don't understand.
It's like you're either...
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, you either have to be... Like, you're either categorized as being a bitch, or, like, there's no... Like, people can't just be like, oh, that girl is, like, she's a leader. It's... she's a bitch. Do
you think that there's more... I feel like, and by the way, I'm a guy. A lot of people don't realize that, but I'm a guy, so obviously I'm an outsider in their perspective.
Good looking one at that.
I appreciate that, Adrian. I feel like it's getting a little better in the sense.
It definitely is getting better.
Like, women have the ability to have far more personality in terms of, like, broadcasters, female comedians. Like, these people are not just like pieces of ass anymore. They're actually like, oh, I like when she does this. I like that she says this.
But I think that on the opposite end, guys, they're not criticized on their looks first. People, like, usually, like, think about their talent or whatever it is first, whereas women, it's always looks first.
It's not a bad point because as much as I was like, wait, I'm getting criticized on my looks. That's not fair. At the same time, Thor, Captain America, when they hire these, like, super good-looking, unrealistic muscle dudes, which, by the way, not a good image for men, especially men like me. It's not fair. But nobody, like, no men look at them and go, like, he just got the role because he's hot. You know what I mean? like no guy is going to sit there and look at what's his name? What's Thor's name?
Chris Hemsworth.
Nobody's going to look at Chris Hemsworth and be like, yeah, of course he's Thor. He's gorgeous.
But aren't there guys and girls who look at Megan Fox and say, oh, she only got that because she's hot?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or she only got that because she slept with so-and-so.
I mean, you don't even have to depart from the movie. You can go right back into Marvel and say, like, yeah, Scarlett Johansson got it because she's hot.
So isn't that just proving the point of, like,
women
are...
That's why I'm shifting back to your point. The more I was thinking about, because in my mind I was thinking about the instant criticism. Like, I go, okay, when Cathy's on TV, people are gonna make fun of her eyebrows. When I'm on TV, people make fun of my eyebrows. We're equal there. But the overarching credibility of why you are where you are.
Yeah.
That's what doesn't get questioned for men.
Yeah.
I find you to be right on that.
And even, I mean, like, in politics, we're seeing it with Hillary Clinton. She is criticized so much more for what she's wearing or how she's acting than male candidates.
You know why, though? Because men figured out a long time ago
we can just wear suits and change up the tie.
Just wear a suit. What are you going to criticize a suit for? Like, if a politician wore anything besides a suit, they would be criticized for it. Women, like, there's so many choices. What do you wear? Like, oh, I got to change my outfit all the time. Donald Trump might have been wearing the same suit since he started campaigning. I don't know. Plus he has a tie company, so it's easy for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I think that men just figured out that there's a uniform that a professional man wears. And I think because of years of there being no such thing as a professional woman, there hasn't been a uniform figured out. That's what women need.
Pantsuits.
A uniform.
But then people say that they're bitchy or whatever if they're wearing pantsuits. Like literally
I mean,
based
I was being
on
silly.
no, I know, but like there is that argument.
And that's literally what Hillary Clinton wears.
If a female
Pantsuits.
if Hillary Clinton wears a dress, then is she really fit to be our president? Do you think that she could like, how stand up to
how you gonna leave the
another
country in a ball gown?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
But that's an actual criticism.
Right. I get it. So what is the female uniform? How do we get there? That's what we need to figure out. Females need a uniform. Guys have one. Suits is the uniform. If I wore a suit every day to do this show, people would think Sam's got something going on. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh yeah, there's something going on there. I thought about that once. When I was coming up, I went through a phase. Right now, like, I think right now I look like okay. Sometimes I look like a total slob because like I'm okay with that right now. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be perceived as anything else really. Like if it's a day where I don't have any guests, I'm not meeting with any bosses, I'm wearing my Adam Cole t-shirt. It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. But on other days, I'll wear, like if I have an Instagram model coming in, maybe I'll put a collar on. You know what I mean?
Which you did today.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's weird. But I would like when I started, I was just a kid wearing whatever. But I went through a phase where I went through over a year where I didn't wear jeans ever.
Chinos.
Only chinos and button downs. And then I went through far more than a year, like several years, where I never wore sneakers, just shoes. Mm-hmm. And I started wearing jeans again, but like nice jeans with shoes, only shoes. Then I switched over to Jordan 1s. And
do you feel a little more comfortable?
I feel like
your role and now in your clothes as well?
I mean, I feel more like the fucking man walking around in Jordan 1s all the time.
Yeah.
There's nothing better.
Did you ever have one of those kids who used to come to school in a suit?
What?
I know what you're talking about. I had a kid that came to school in a sweater every day. He was the gay kid that was like it wasn't early enough to come out of the closet. He was in second grade, but like he ran around. His name is Gregory.
See, the kid in my school was just a dickhead. His dad was a politician in Jersey, so he was like, I'm going to be a businessman eventually.
Sounds like First Kid.
It's like I'm a young man, so I have to dress well.
I love that movie.
Yeah, isn't Sinbad in that movie? Yeah. But so what can women wear? I would say, like Carly Fiorina, she wears like skirt suits, right? Like a skirt and a blouse and a blazer with heels. Mm-hmm. You could also wear it with flats.
I personally hate how I look in blazers. So that's not going to work for me.
Well, I don't really wear blazers that often either. But if we want to be professionals, Cathy, and be taken seriously,
yeah,
you know what I mean? If we want to join the workforce, if we want to be politicians, I think women need to come together and say this is what we're all wearing and just wear it all the time
How
if
about
they're
people
professionals.
Just not judge based on looks or
cool.
clothes.
What if we just walk around and like slide down rainbows on the way to work too? What if we fly unicorns to work and Pegasi?
I mean, there are people that are always going to criticize no matter what you're wearing.
What the fuck you talking about?
Yeah.
Be awesome.
But over time, because that's not going to happen, the not judging thing.
I know, but even if there was a uniform, like even with men, it's not as much as with women, but
right.
like even with men, it's like, oh, well, that suit isn't tailored properly, or that suit isn't a designer brand.
Sure, and you're never going to get away from that. But you could do a lot of good if women just decided, professional women, just decided to wear skirt suits.
What about just, and I know it's easier said, but what about just plowing through and ignoring the criticism and just...
You could, but it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. I think
like
the
they
argument
won't stop
is
criticizing.
like, like you can try to have your blinders on, but you're going to end up having hurdles like of people thinking that you can't succeed because you're a woman, or...
Which is why skirt suits. Like, if I was on Wall Street, if I was like, you're either Zuckerberg and you're a billionaire with an idea, then you can wear whatever you want, man or woman, or if you're just like a guy who works, you're going to work. What's the train? It's filled with guys wearing suits. On the other side, has to be skirt suits. If you're running for office, never be seen wearing anything but a skirt suit, unless it's a formal affair. If it's a tux, if the men are wearing tuxes, you wear a gown. If the men are wearing suits, you wear a skirt suit. All professional women. And if you do that, over time, give it 10 years. We're long-term here. Over time...
In 10 years, we'll all be in spacesuits.
You think so?
Fuck yeah.
But
Easy.
But they'll tailor the spacesuits to look more like skirt suits and suits. But I mean, that's
Like in Xenon.
Exactly. But to me, that's the only place you can go. Is skirt suits.
Spacesuits.
No, we're not gonna have spacesuits.
Why not?
We're not going anywhere.
I'm totally signing up to go to Mars.
Yeah?
Yep.
Well, you could sign up, but we're not going anywhere.
I want to be in a space station.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you really want to be in a space station?
I'll be the host of the space station.
Yeah. Talk about a big fish in a small pond. There's like 9 people in the space station with you. Like, hey guys, it's bingo night. Awful.
What if they have bingo on the space station?
What else are they going to do?
I don't know. Intergalactic
Bingo.
stuff.
Zero gravity sex.
Is that what you're going to host? Zero gravity sex shows, Kathy?
That's
that's
not
like-
what I.
Sorry, I kind of zoned out and all I heard was,
aspire
what are you going to do on a space station?
That literally was all the question was.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Totally. Zero gravity sex 100% counts.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, I believe. Well,
Like, you'll never guess who's hooking up in Sector 5.
Right. There won't be enough people up there. Number one, it's not intergalactic because you're not going to let aliens in the space station. No way. No
Okay.
way. So it'll just be humans. And how many people are really going to go to Mars?
I'll go.
I would volunteer you.
No,
I've already put your name on the list.
I would go like late into my life. I don't want to be part of the first like 20 years there.
Like how
No.
late? What age?
Like 60s, 70s.
I would go if I had dementia.
Because like people are like, oh,
If I had dementia, I would go to Mars. Other than that, I wouldn't.
It's
I'm going to write that somewhere. When I start at the early signs of dementia, send me to Mars because I won't know what the fuck's going on anyway.
let's say we colonize Mars.
Actually, what'll happen? Unfortunately, what'll happen is they won't send me anywhere, and they'll just be like, "Hey, you're on Mars," and I'll believe them every day because I have dementia.
Let's say we colonize Mars in 2017. Next year, I wouldn't go before 2047.
We're not going to colonize Mars next year.
I know, but I'm just saying hypothetically,
You wouldn't go before when?
2047.
So you're waiting 30 years before you go
So
to Mars.
all the kinks get worked out.
So you're going to Mars at the age of 54.
Yeah,
That's
vacation.
not that old.
It'll
Vacation.
take you 150
But I mean,
years to get
but
there.
after we've been there that long, then I won't have to worry about any,
Look, I'll tell you this. If that's your plan, then you better learn how to cook potatoes and shit or whatever it was that guy did because it's the only way you're surviving up there. They have terrible storms. Terrible.
Yeah, but we're just gonna build big biodumps.
I've seen the movie. It doesn't work out as well as you think
You're
it
right.
does. Wait till Stephen Baldwin. If Stephen Baldwin's on that ship with you, realize one thing. You're in a lot of
I
trouble.
mean, that's who we should really send to Mars is Pauly Shore.
Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got lots of stuff to eat. I've watched Biodome a lot.
So have I.
I think, Biodome was...
You can dance if you want to.
Yeah. Let me see. Biodome was one of the good Pauly Shore movies.
Encino Man.
Encino Man was good. Son-in-Law was good.
Son-in-Law is great.
By the way, Jury Duty was good. And that is...
I don't think I ever watched Jury Duty
It's good. And that's
all the way through.
that is put in the category of bad Pauly Shore movies. That short hair Pauly Shore.
Mm-hmm.
But Jury Duty is a good movie.
What?
Right.
I love Pauly Shore. What about in the was it in
But
the
you
Army
send
Now?
him to Mars.
Which I thought was great.
Yeah.
And that short hair girl's in Orange is the New Black now.
Right. Lori Petty, maybe?
I had such a crush on her in that movie.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, Pauly Shore does need to go to Mars because then that was it for him. By the way, I don't like Adrian frustrates me because he knows all the Pauly Shore movies and he has no idea how to use Twitter. He's 24.
He's like you about wrestling.
I mean, that's what I was saying to you earlier. You asked, like when you were talking about whether I was cool or not. Everybody used to think I was fucking weird because I listened in 6th grade. I was Ozzy Osbourne for Halloween.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
You know what I mean?
That's so...
It's what I like. Like,
I understand it's what you like, but it is so the opposite of useful to me. You know what I mean? Like it couldn't like your hobbies and interests.
Yeah, like I read all the time.
Yeah, couldn't be less useful.
Well, what do you read?
Anything.
Books about Walt Disney.
I read anything. No, not even that. I'll read any fiction, nonfiction, whatever. I'm reading J.K. Rowling's new book. I know.
Start reading things that are helpful towards the show.
Thank you. Yeah.
You have to eat, sleep, and breathe this.
You know what you should read? Twitter. That's what you should read. Follow a bunch of people. Twitter. That is true. That is true. I'll tell you that. You know why? You want to know how to get in my head? You want to know how to focus on what you need to focus on? You got to live it.
I was going to say,
you got to live it.
To be successful, you already quoted Kevin Undergaro before, but one of the things that he does every single year, and he taught me to do, is you list out everything you want to do. So reading books would be in your category. Not saying that reading books is a bad thing, but you cross out everything, or you like put in the category of what gets you to your end goal in the list of things you want to do, and cross out everything that doesn't fit into that.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
So you eliminate all the extra stuff.
I tend to do that. I don't do that because I tend to do it naturally.
Yeah.
Like I just don't have any. I end up turning my interest into bigger goals and don't have any interest. That's just how my brain functions. So like what I do at the beginning or end of the year is I think I focus on what I've done this year, what I did the year before, and where I'm at right now, and go like, okay, we're starting in a good place, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I just need to make sure that at the end of each year, we've gone up, we've gone up, we've gone up.
Like there was a year when I was like, I really want to learn guitar. I bought a guitar, and Kevin was like, does that get you towards your goal of hosting a national show?
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, it's like that's the way I would think too. And if I could really talk to people, that's what I would say to them every time. But a nice person would come along and be like, well, don't you think people should have hobbies too? And
your hobby.
Like, what's my answer? No, of course not.
But
people shouldn't have
also,
hobbies.
like,
You're not going to play guitar. Don't waste your time playing. You're not playing guitar.
You're never going to be
Don't
Prince.
play guitar. Yeah, exactly. You know why Prince was Prince? Because he only played guitar. It wasn't like when he was at home on the weekends he played guitar. And they're like, well, I don't want to be Prince. I just want to like learn how to play. Well, then get out of my face.
Literally, he lived it to the point where when he wanted to hang out with friends, he would rent out a club and sing in that club and perform for his friends.
Right. He would hang out at them, not with them.
That's so great.
Yeah. But you don't get to be the man unless like...
Literally.
That's it.
Us hanging out as friends is us recording a podcast.
Yeah.
We record a podcast. We brainstorm a pilot. Like, that's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, I don't relate to people otherwise. I'm not that fun to hang out with, though. You know what I mean?
I see that.
Unless...
You like the same things.
Right.
Unless it's something that's related to this.
Right.
Because you do make me laugh just as much as anyone else that's in my life.
Right.
But I can
Probably
imagine
more.
hanging
Let's
out...
be honest.
Yeah, I mean...
Socially, if it's not something related to work, you're not...
But, like, I'm hanging out with Troy or I'm hanging out with Cathy. Like, we laugh all the time.
Yeah.
But it's all kind of weirdly, connected to the end goal.
It's connected to this place, to this
Not
thing that you've built.
this thing
you
that
know,
I built,
like
not-
just the atmosphere, environment, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I feel like we've gotten a lot done today. Do you feel like you've grown?
Mm-hmm. In the pants.
Okay. Have we done any good at all?
What? With Adrian?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah. Time will tell, won't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't
So will
breed,
my pants.
Just
Don't
I know what you're
breed.
saying.
yeah.
I thought you said I'm not saying don't breed. But
Well,
I'm not going to stop that either.
breeding? You're having children?
No. I mean, not intentionally.
Just practicing.
Yeah.
Just,
that'll really screw up your end goal.
yeah. No. Honestly, if you were really coming to me, and I wouldn't follow up with it, but if you're coming to me and saying, "What's your advice?" I would say, be very careful. Like, don't. First of all, never read fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, if you're going to read, make it a nonfiction book about someone or something that you admire in some way that you can learn from and take away and apply to your life.
Like I read
Yeah.
Tina Fey's book, Amy Poehler's book, Mindy Kaling's book.
I get that.
The last book I read because I had heard about the author and thought he might be a good guest on
Perfect.
here.
You should
so I
read
read and
Jensen
emailed
Karp's
him.
book.
Right, read Jensen Karp's
Yeah.
book. That
That's a
sounds
good
great to
example.
me. Last book I listened to on tape was Steve Jobs, and then Jess was like, "We should listen to Elon Musk's book next."
Oh, he's good.
And I go, "He's good, but
He's the one that's going to send me to space.
right, but he's not finished yet." What do you mean read his book now? He's not done. Like I'm not. I don't need halfway through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even the story of how he got there. It's not really complete, right?
Have you read The Right Stuff?
What's that?
It's about space travel.
No, I'm not reading that.
Oh.
What do I care about space travel?
You're not an astronaut.
Thank you, Adrian. Guess where I'm never going? Space. I just came on my show on Thursday and started ranting about how I don't think I'm going to leave the country anymore. Like I'm not going to space. You know? There's no reason. Not only do you have to travel over an ocean, you have to travel over all the oceans.
The only way that you'd go out of the country is if there was a wrestling show that you wanted to cover.
That'd be dope. I would love to go to England for
Yep.
the NXT show. That'd be dope. All right, guys, please rate, review, subscribe to this podcast. We do it every Monday. It's an extra hour of content, which is a lot since we're doing 15, and plus the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is YouTube/NotSam. You can get everything at notsam.com. And Sam Roberts Show is on every night on SiriusXM, Monday through Friday, live from 9 p.m. to midnight. So make sure you're listening. Cathy,
Yeah.
you're the greatest.
Aww. Thanks.
Adrian, don't stand up with that thing in your pants, pointing like that.
I don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna put an eye out with that thing.
Yeah, sorry.
Hopefully your own.
All right, we'll see you next week.